I'm Claudette Montana Pattison with FanNation Now, joined by Chad Jensen, publisher of Mile High Huddle. And Chad, the Denver Broncos recently acquired linebacker Kenny Young from the Los Angeles Rams due to some major depth issues at that linebacker position with the Broncos. So can he make an immediate impact for this team's defense?
Immediate, I think he can, but that's going to depend on how quickly Vic Fangio and company can assimilate him and get him up to speed. The biggest obstacle at this point for Young is going to be learning that playbook, knowing the calls. But hey, they've still got a few days before they got to take on the Washington football team, so all things are possible. Fangio said about Kenny Young, quote, hopefully he'll be able to play right away. So that's the intent. He said there will be some carryover from his system, which, the Rams ran after Brandon Staley left to take the head coaching job with the Los Angeles Chargers. That scheme that he left behind is built on the bones of Fangio's scheme. So Fangio went on to say, quote, some verbiage is different. We'll have to give him some practice here, and maybe I can better answer that later in the week. But they like his athleticism. They like the fact that he's a playmaker, that he's good in coverage and has good instincts. So I think the Broncos, if you're looking out there across the NFL landscape for any option, veteran option that can provide you an upgrade to what has been a completely decimated, depleted inside linebacker core, Kenny Young, especially relative to his 25 years age, is about as good as you can hope for. And I think Broncos fans should be relatively optimistic in terms of what he can bring to this defense. It might take a couple of weeks to really get him up to speed, but you're going to see him on the field Sunday against the Washington football team.
You mentioned his veteran experience. Do you think that was an important factor in selecting a guy to bring in?
Definitely a factor. And I think the other thing, as Fangio kind of intimated, is the fact that the scheme, because that's the biggest drawback for teams right now when you're decimated by injuries and you're looking for guys around the league, whether they're on the street or whether they're guys that opposing teams might be open to trading, guys that can have you can assume to have a relative short learning curve. And the only way to really deduce that is, do they have experience in our scheme or a scheme like ours? And are they experienced enough as a veteran to have been through that trial and error learning curve before? And the Broncos were able to check both those boxes. And the bonus for Kenny Young is he's only 25. And so his potential, I think, is still relatively untapped. And that's one of the upside or upshots, I should say, for the Broncos.